Great. Okay.
We are live, I think.
Yeah. Wonderful, Mataji.
Yeah. Anuradha Mataji, go ahead, Mataji. You are there on the call. You can take over from here.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada, this is Preeti Vilasini Devidasi from Atlanta.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. And sorry for being late. My laptop was not listening to me. But so wonderful to know, Mataji, that you moved to Atlanta. And, but we do aspire for your association, Mataji, in person. Thank you so much for your association. Wonderful association, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, is there anybody who would like to introduce themselves? Or if Prabhu is already there, we can.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance of Lord Srila Prabhupada, Gauranga, and all the assembly devotees from Texas.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances of glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas. Thank you so much for joining all the way from Texas. And thank you so much once again. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Is this your first time, Prabhu?
No, Mataji, Prabhu joins every day. Both the calls and chants very nicely. So Ramgiridhari Prabhu is asking 2 minutes. We can start the recording and we can read the quote and we can wait, I think, Mataji.
Yeah, shall I read the quote, Mataji?
Yeah, Mataji. Mataji, if Preeti Mataji agrees, there is one nice story. You start.
Do I read or Preeti Mataji needs to do?
What yeah, read Mataji. You read Mataji.
Okay, let me pull it out, Mataji. It's very interesting. 15th August, Srila Prabhupada's quote. Whether you are lusty or a thief or a murderer or whatever it may be, somehow or the other, you must develop this eagerness, this desire. I must see Krishna. Then Krishna will be seen. Los Angeles, August 15, 1972. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
What should I do, Mataji? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
This story is very nice. I was thinking I will read this if Prabhuji is late, right? Can I read, Mataji, please?
Of course, of course.
This is about today's quote, the thief in Vrindavan. One professional reciter was reciting about Bhagavatam and he was describing that Krishna being highly decorated with the jewels in tending cows in the forest of Vrindavan. There was a thief in that meeting listening to his narration. Why not then go to Vrindavan and plunder this boy? He is in forest, so many valuable jewels. I can catch the child and take all the jewels. Then the thief decided to go to Vrindavan, where Krishna goes to graze cows in the forest, and the thief was constantly thinking that I must see Krishna, I must see Krishna. On this way, the thief was constantly thinking about Krishna in Vrindavan, how Krishna would be wearing valuable ornaments and playing with his friends. Finally, the thief reaches Vrindavan. He saw Krishna exactly as informed by the Bhagavatam reader. Krishna was decorated with lot of jewels and was herding cows. Oh, Krishna, every day you come, are you coming with the cows to the forest? And you are looking so beautiful, charming with all these jewels. You are also very rich. So may I take some of your ornaments? No, no, no. My mother will be angry. I cannot give you my ornaments. As Krishna said no, the thief became more and more eager for Krishna's association. By remembering Krishna constantly, the thief became a devotee. All right, you can take. Moral. So some way or other, we should come into contact with Krishna, then we will be purified. We started that verse, the quote today we read was similar, so that's why I read.
Very beautiful, Mataji. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Is Prabhuji here?
No, Mataji, I don't see Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for all of your association. On behalf of Bhakti Sangha, we would like to welcome His Grace Ramgiridhari Prabhu. Prabhu, please take over and enlighten us on Caitanya Bhagavata. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. So we are reading from Caitanya Bhagavata Adi Khanda, chapter 10, shloka number 77 through 83. Siddhikata Aishya Kahila Aistane Safala Haila Karyakara Subhakshane. He then returned to Mother Sachi's house and informed Mother Sachi, the formalities have been completed. Now you may choose an auspicious time for the ceremony. Apta lokasuni sabe harasita hailam sabe udyoga ashi tarite lagilam. When the Lord's relatives heard the news, they joyfully began to make arrangements. Adivasa lagna karilena shubhadhine nritya gita nana vadya vaye nata ghane. On the auspicious day, they held the Adivasa ceremony, during which people danced and sang while musicians played various instruments. Chaturdhike dvija ghanam kare veda dhvani madhye chandra sama vasile na dvijamani. All around, the Brahmanas recited Vedic hymns as Nimai, the jeweler of the twice born, appeared like the moon in their midst. Prere Gandamalya Tiya Shubhakshane Adivasa Karilena Aptavipragane. At an auspicious moment, the relatives and Brahmanas offered sandalwood pulp and flower garlands to the Lord, thereby completing the Adivasa ceremony. Divya Gandha Chandana Tambula Maladiyam Brahmana Ghanere Tushilena Harshahaya. The relatives also satisfied the Brahmanas by offering them sandalwood pulp, betel nuts, and flower garlands. Vallabhacharya Yata Vidhi Rupe Adivasha Karatya Gelena Kautube. Following tradition, Vallabhacharya also came and joyfully took part in the Adivas ceremony. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshurun Militam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham Nama Om Vishnu Padayam Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedantam Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityanandam Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are going to discuss about Nimai Pandita's wedding with Lakshmi Priya Devi. So those who have missed the sequence, so there was a Brahmana by name Vallabha who was looking for a bride, who was looking for a bridegroom for his daughter. It's a very important responsibility for a father. So Vallabhacharya had 3 daughters and he was looking for one of them. Her name was Lakshmi. So we call Lakshmi Priya. So he had a friend by name Vanamali Acharya. This Vanamali Acharya approached Sachi Mata and described about the candidate for Nimai Pandit. And Sachi Mata did not give any concurrence or any response. In the meanwhile, Nimai Pandita happened to see Lakshmi Priya in the Ganges when she came to fetch, or when she came to take bath, fetch water or take bath. So that time, Nimai Pandita and Lakshmi Priya saw each other and they had their divine exchange. And when Vanamali Acharya was leaving from Sachi Mata's house, on the way, he met Nimai Pandit and they exchanged each other's notes. So Vanamali Acharya said that I went to your house with a proposal and somehow I didn't get an affirmative response from your mother. Already by that time, Nimai Pandita made up his mind to accept Lakshmi Priya as his consort. So Nimai Pandita responded to Vanamali Acharya, said that don't worry, I will speak to my mother. You will soon get an update from her. So the reason Mother Sachi was always suspicious or doubtful about taking any decision is she's constantly observing Nimai Pandita's activities. Sometimes he behaved in a very rude manner. Sometimes he behaved in a very eccentric manner. Sometimes he behaved in a very sober manner. Especially after Jagannath Mishra's departure, the way Nimai Pandita cried and felt separation from Jagannath Mishra. So the family was left between only Sachi Mata and Nimai Pandit. So Sachi Mata did not want to enforce any decision on Nimai Pandit. So she didn't give any response to Vanamali Acharya. But when Nimai Pandit came home, so he inquired to Sachi Mata and told her that why did you not give an affirmative response to Vanamali Acharya. Sachimata understood the intention and mood of Nimai Pandit, and she sent the message to Vanamali Acharya, who arranged the conversation between girl's family and the boy's family. Of course, Vallabhacharya or the Vallabha Bhatta had requested Vanamali Acharya, saying that I have a small challenge, that I do not have enough wealth to give as dowry to Sachimata. I hardly have a very meager, very little. I can only offer 5 haritaki fruit along with my daughter. So please, can you beg their consent for that? So Vanamali Acharya did the negotiation or whatever he had to convince, and did all the formality to finalize the wedding. So that's where the background is. So every time when there is any auspicious ceremony or celebration that has to happen, the Vedic procedure, the Paddhati, is very well defined. In Vedic civilization, there is nothing that is done on the basis of sensual or mental concoction. No celebration, no event is done just because I like a celebration and I wish to do it in a particular way. It is always directed by some bona fide priests through a bona fide process for a bona fide reason. This the Lord, whilst performing every Leela, whether it is Sri Ramachandra Prabhu marrying Mother Sita, Gaura Chandra marrying Lakshmi Priya, Balaji, the Vishnu marrying Lakshmi in Tirupati, Balaji pastime. Even during Krishna's Leela, there are some places Krishna had done a procedural wedding too. Of course, Krishna did several weddings. Krishna did secret wedding with Srimati Radharani in Bhandirvan. Krishna eloped or kidnapped Rukmini Devi and had another type of marriage with her. Krishna married those 16,000 queens who were taken by Narakasura. So there are some unique other Leelas the Lord has performed, but whenever the procedural wedding had been done, it was always done through some Vedic procedure. Adivas ceremony is one of them. Adivas ceremony is such that it's a day where before the ceremony begins, auspiciousness is invoked. It is very, very important when a ceremony is supposed to be performed. They are performed with right consciousness. It is so appropriate for us to discuss this context because we are preparing or we are already in the midst of festivities. From Julan Yatra all the way till Radhashtami, the festivities are happening one after the other. In some temples, they celebrate 10-day Janmashtami Utsav, somebody celebrate 3-day Utsav. But in spiritual world, it is Nitya Utsav. The Lord is always interested in having everyday celebrations. And everyday celebrations are procedural. And these procedural things are not imposed on the practitioners. It is very natural. At the same time, it is done according to some directions. How much ever natural emotions devotees, servants have, they still follow some procedure. So Adivas ceremony, about which we just read today, because the whole 6-7 verses that we read is about the Adivas ceremony. Adivas ceremony is generally done the day before the wedding or the day before any auspicious event, whether it is deity installation, whether it is temple opening, whether it is marriage, even sometimes it is done for Vyasa Puja celebrations of spiritual masters. The Lord's appearance day, the day before. The general procedure is the day before the celebration, there is a celebration. The day of the main event, of course, there are celebrations. And the day after is also a celebration. So all three are in general the Vaishnava tradition. 26 items are offered to Mother Earth, to the personality whom this ceremony is being done. And once again, it is shared with all the assembled members. So we are going to discuss a few technical things at the same time, try to learn some interesting lessons for us to participate in the Lord's any celebration, whether it is appearance day, whether it is Vivaha, whether it is any celebration, any festivities, Rath Yatra. The first and foremost aspect of every celebration is it is about invoking auspiciousness. If you recollect the second chapter of Krishna book, all the demigods, they were very seriously concerned. What was their concern? They were concerned that Krishna is personally going to appear. He does not come every Dwapara Yuga. This Dwapara Yuga is going to appear. The place inside the jail is very gloomy. Already 6 babies were killed. Devaki Mata is in a completely devastated state of mind, and she is in superlatively fearsome mode. Their mood is very, very gloomy. How is it possible the Lord should be welcomed in such a manner? So all the demigods on their own gathered and decided to invoke auspiciousness in the jail. And Prabhupada writes a beautiful explanation. There are around 15 to 20 prayers. The demigods are residing inside the jail and motivating Mother Devaki and telling her that the personality who is going to appear He's not an ordinary person. So cheer up. So invoking auspiciousness is an important aspect. When Akrura was going to receive or invite Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, before even Akrura went and met Krishna and Balaram, Akrura already started to think and meditate and pray, and he started to invoke auspiciousness. The reason of invoking auspiciousness is we are going to perform some superlative act which is not associated with materialistic things. Our consciousness is mixed with mixed emotions because of our mixed association. So it is imperative that we need to prepare our consciousness to participate in the ceremony very nicely. And the way auspiciousnesses are invoked is, number one, by the way of chanting Vedic mantras. Number two, by the way of singing the glories of the Lord. Number three, by the way of dancing and expressing our jubilation for the kirtan. And number four, feeding, welcoming and feeding and looking after our guests in the best possible manner. The guests who are invited, the main guests as well as those who are invited, they are supposed to be looked after very well. The mood in which they are looked after, the mood in which they are taken care, will actually set the precedence of how the celebration is going to happen. It tells us, it sets the context. So in our Krishna consciousness journey, Srila Prabhupada has taught us how to perform festivals. Whilst festivals are meant to glorify the Lord, but festivals also have got different components of festivity, and it begins with invoking auspiciousness. So our first learning is that for us simple practitioners, whilst every day we need to keep our consciousness neat and clean, but specifically when we are going to take part in some festival, specifically when we are going to be performing some services in the festival for the Lord, we need to keep our consciousness completely prepared to perform that act. This is common sense, which is uncommon nowadays. The doctors who is supposed to perform the operation, they do have prerequisites. A pilot who need to fly the next day, there's a prerequisite that he should have had so much hours of break from the previous journey. He should have been given sufficient rest, what food he should have eaten, what food he shouldn't have eaten. Even for a simple mechanical activity, there is something called as preparedness. Here the Lord is performing his pastimes as Archa Vigraha or as his own servants in the form of his own servants, representatives coming here and performing some Leela, or as an incarnation. Anyway, in any capacity, when the Lord is around us, when we are supposed to serve him, we are supposed to prepare our consciousness. And this consciousness preparation is very well nicely explained, both in the way the demigods came and cheered up Mother Devaki, as well as Akrura's journey towards inviting Krishna and Balaram, which is eventually formulated by our Vaishnava priests in the form of some procedures. We will not get into the details of the procedures, what are offered, why are they offered. There is also a technical reason. So, my first reflection is, in our daily service, also this invoking auspiciousness is a must. And in the daily service, how do we invoke auspiciousness? We chant some mantras. Invoking auspiciousness means cleansing of the dirt, cleansing of unnecessary thoughts, and rightly setting ourselves into the right mood. In any deity worship seminar, they teach this. You first supposed to take permission from your spiritual master. Purify yourselves externally, internally. You should make sure the spiritual master is always, you always take permission from him, and the mood is very nicely set. So even in our Nitya Utsava, Nitya Seva, we are supposed to invoke auspiciousness. Yadakshara pada prashtam matra hinam yat bhavet tat sarvam kshamyatam deva narayana namostute. It is not only at the beginning we invoke the auspiciousness. At the end of the festival, at the end of the service, we are supposed to chant this mantra, or we are supposed to have this mood. Even if inadvertently, knowingly, unknowingly, if there are any offenses, mistakes, both in terms of consciousness as well as in terms of detailing, if there is anything mistake happened, my dear Lord, please forgive me. Yadakshara pada prashtam matra hinam yat bhavet tat sarvam kshamyatam deva narayana namostute. Asking for forgiveness. So these two put together sets a very nice context that we are servants and we are supposed to serve the Lord with a proper mood and consciousness. The second aspect of performing festivity in Krishna book, chapter number 5, that the chapter before Putana killed. What happened? Nanda Maharaja is performing a grand celebration for Krishna's appearance. The whole of Gokul, Vrindavan, everybody were well informed about the newborn in Nanda Maharaj's house. The newborn in Nanda Maharaj's house not only gave joy to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maiya, the whole of Gokul, Vrindavan, they were celebrating. And the description is very nicely given. How did they celebrate? Each of the gopis, each of the women in the entire nearby village, they dressed themselves up so nicely. Sukadeva Goswami Pada is nicely explaining how did they dress. They had lipsticks, eyelashes. They had all the costumes. They wore a beautiful garments. They had their own, hair dressing. They had silk sarees. They had jewelries. They had scents. So these women dressed them so beautifully, so wonderfully. And the Vedic tradition is, you dress them up. You dress yourself up to please the Lord. It's a very subtle point, important point, but something that has to be very carefully followed. All the gopis, they dressed very nicely, not to show off their jewelry or not to show off their sensuality. The mood was, Krishna has appeared. The mood was, he is ours and we are his servants. So happy that he is amongst us. That happiness was expressed in every walks of their action. And one of them is dressing. One very senior devotee told this to me, that if at all somebody has to dress up very nicely, it should be for the pleasure of the Lord. In the mood of pleasing the Lord, in the mood of celebration for the Lord's appearance, in the mood of trying to be attractive to the Lord, one should dress up. Not in any other mood. That's a very thin line here. Many times we all dress up, show off for some other reasons. But the devotees, so Sukadeva Goswami explains, when they all dressed up, not only dressed up, they were excitedly, very nicely, exchanging their happiness. They were throwing on each other turmeric mixed with rice and oil. They were throwing at each other yogurt, milk, water, flower petals. Looking at the celebration, even all the men, they got excited. They started applying each other. They were throwing butter at each other and they were all celebration. And the mood was completely centered around celebrating Krishna's appearance. It was not personal agenda. So the second reflection that I want to say had two parts. One part is that each and every one of us, Prabhupada used to always say, a Vaishnava should dress like a gentleman. In one of the purports in 7th canto, Srila Prabhupada writes, even if it means a Vaishnava may have to dress in non-Vaishnava attire, he need to, even if he had to wear for the sake of preaching or presenting Krishna consciousness to a different audience, he need to present himself gently, not in a funny way. Because we are cultured, civilized, and intelligent, supposed to be cultured, civilized, and intelligent one. So our dress and conduct should reflect them. So the part one is about our Vaishnava dressing. Why you dress, how you dress, what you dress. Every cosmetics, every wonderful, costly ornaments are allowed so long as the mood is to go and please the Lord. There was an Alvar by name Andal. This Andal Alvar, every day her service was to make garland for Lord Vishnu, Lord Narayana. So every day when she used to make garland for the Lord, she used to make them, wear them, stand in front of the mirror, check her out, and then go and, offer to the Lord. Another name is Sudi Kodutta Sudar Kodi in Tamil, which means a beautiful gopi who always offer after wearing it upon herself. And the mood was, not many could understand, and neither we can imitate, but the mood was, but what I am offering to the Lord should be the best. There was a disciple of Ramanujacharya. So he had a service that every day he has to make the bedding for his spiritual master. And this person, every day when he is making the bedding, he used to make the bedding and he used to lie on that first. So some of his god brothers looked at it and said that you are rascal. How come you can lie on spiritual master's bed? His response was that I am just checking out if it is very, very comfortable for him. So the mood here is about how do we see ourselves in front of the Lord, in connection with the Lord. Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. This is not just in words. This is just not theoretically, understood. How do we put this in action? So when you go in front of the Lord, you are not only clean, you are also presentable, both internally as well as externally. That is why, to prepare ourselves, we chant the mantra. We do so many purificatory mantra. One of them is Bahya Abhyantara Suchi. By just Vishnu Smarana, Bahya, external, Antaraha Suchi. But we need to keep ourselves clean. That is why in deity worship standard, they're expected to have clean clothes. We call not just clean. There's a terminology which I seldom hear nowadays, but in our earlier days when we were being trained, there's a word that used to be called as altar clean. What is regularly clean is different from being extremely clean for the altar, which means if I am going closer to Krishna, how clean I am supposed to be. We are not supposed to go to the washroom. We are not supposed to drink water, not even water, what to speak of other things. We are not supposed to touch other people. We are not supposed to wander here and there. We are supposed to have clean clothes, properly, washed and dried. In our traditional families, I remember in our own, Orthodox families, they give so much importance to these details. Of course, they somehow lose the point on the Siddhanta, but the reason Smartas and Madhvas, even for that matter, they are very highly appreciated is for their procedural things. Smartas are very particular in how you do all these things. In my house, they used to have a separate rope. Anytime when there is a festival celebration at home, the previous night, my parents used to dry dhoti and sarees so that nobody touches them. The next day morning after they take bath, they directly wear them. Until the festival is over, they will not allow them to touch. Anyway, so the intent here is to be clean, ultra clean with both consciousness internally and externally. But the second aspect of the celebration is about having the happy mood. It is explained that when we are in front of the Lord, when we are performing the services to the Lord, in general, we are not supposed to be sorrow. We are not supposed to be one of the directives is we are not supposed to cry inside the altar. Because we are with Krishna, we can cry in front of the Lord. We are allowed to express our emotions to the Lord, but not in the form of materialistic feelings of sorrow or disappointment. There's a very interesting wording somebody sent me, very famous one. Don't tell Krishna what problem you have. You tell problem the Krishna that you have. So it's easily said than done. We are mixed with so much of emotions. We are still trying with whatever limited sincerity we have. Krishna accepts them. But it is very important for us to present ourselves. So devotees means happy. Prabhupada always say this, that as devotees, we should always be happy because we have Krishna, we have holy name, we have Gurudev, we have services, we have Mahaprasadam. How can you be sorrow? What greatest sorrow can do to you when you have all of them with you? And Vrindavan, or even for that matter, all the devotees, whether in Ramayana or Vrindavan or Gaur Leela, everybody were very happy. In separation, they were crying and happy. In celebration, they were laughing and happy, but they were happy. But in the cry also, they were happy because internally they were remembering the Supreme Lord. The sorrowness is just the mood, but they were filled with contentedness. Srila Prabhupada performed the deity installation ceremony of ISKCON Hyderabad, 1973-74. It was a 4-day celebration. As a part of the 4-day celebration, Srila Prabhupada called for some Sri Vaishnava Panditas. At that time, ISKCON did not have enough qualified priests. So those priests performed all the Netrotsava, deity installation ceremony, everything had happened. On the last day, after all the ceremonies, procedural ceremonies got over, Srila Prabhupada, there was an arti for the Lord, Radha Madan Mohanji. I guess it was Vishnu Jana Maharaj, maybe I'm wrong. So one of the devotees started leading the kirtan. So the kirtan slowly went on and on, and the tempo kept on increasing. There were 4 or 5 Sri Vaishnava Pandits who had come for the deity installation ceremony. So as the kirtan tempo increased, so all the Pandits, they left their whatever Homakunda or whatever that they were doing. Of course, they were finished, but they were talking or they were just witnessing the entire Arati ceremony. But as the kirtan kept on increasing and the devotees started to dance, these Sri Vaishnava Pandits also could not control themselves. They also came and danced in the ceremony. So they were dancing and dancing and dancing. Srila Prabhupada said, this is the essence of our Sankirtan mission. Few years before, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj took some devotees to Srirangam. Maybe it was the year 2002, if I'm right. At that time, he had 5,000 devotees went to Srirangam. The Jier, one of the main priests, one of the main Goswami of Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, he had publicly expressed, and one of the main pujaris of Lord Ranganatha Swami, they publicly expressed in front of looking at the way our devotees were conducting themselves, the way the lectures were going on, the kirtan was going on, 5,000 devotees dancing in the streets of Ranganatha Swami's temple. Those Sri Vaishnavas also came and danced. And they said that we wish to be part of ISKCON in some capacity. It's a very profound, very bold statement. So my reflection here is that one is invoking auspiciousness. Second is the auspiciousness invoked should reflect in our conduct by the way we present ourselves and by the mood in which we behave. Happiness is an indication of surrender. If I am a surrendered devotee, nothing bothers me. Sudama's wife was disturbed. Sudama was not disturbed. Sudama practically forgot to give that chip to rice that he brought because he didn't even have an agenda to go and ask something from the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj, in all the turmoil, he did not even, complain. Srila Prabhupada, when he was going through his tough period, his only request had always been to asking for direction and to make himself somewhat become useful in the mission of his Guru Maharaj. He was not deterred. He was completely dependent on the Lord. So that happiness, that conviction, that celebration is important. So Adivas ceremony, Jayapataka Maharaj in one of the lectures, he mentioned that Adivasa ceremony is when the actual event is going to happen, everybody should participate in a very joyous mood. And all the bad elements, all the bad omens, all the bad, aura should be cleansed because the Lord is appearing, because the Lord's servant has, appeared, or the whatever festivities are. So here when Nimai Pandita and Lakshmi Priya was going to get married, similar mood was exhibited. The third reflection, Prabhupada writes in the first line of Shloka number 7.7 Bhagavad Gita, Patah parataram nanyat kinchitasti dhananjaya mayi sarvamidam proktam sutre manigana iva. In that, Prabhupada writes the first line of that purport. He writes, there is a common controversy whether the supreme absolute truth is personal or impersonal. As far as the Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, and this is confirmed in every step. And the whole purport is about how Krishna is a person. And Krishna likes Utsava. Krishna likes festivities. Krishna likes all these things because he will be surrounded by his dearmost devotees. So the third aspect of festival means call as many devotees as possible. Invite as many people as possible. And look after them very nicely because Krishna likes them. Krishna is a person he wished to reciprocate. Somehow, of late, we devotees also, unfortunately, have become highly impersonal, both in our dealings as well as in our thinking. Unfortunately, the modern society doesn't like togetherness. They consider it as a burden. If somebody visits your house without you being informed, it's such a big tension for us. Oh my God, he has never informed. But there was never a culture in the even 20, 30, 50 years before. Every Grahasta's duty is to always be ready to serve, invite Atithis. Atithi means uninvited, bin bulaaye mehman, uninvited guest. And they do it with all jubilation. Of course, there is a counter side of this also. Sometimes people are unrealistically, with their expectation, they come and dictate their terms in our house. Both are, problematic. But the point I want to drive home as a third reflection here is, as a part of our festival celebration, we should gather. Festival means gather devotees, and because Krishna always likes to be with his devotees. In Vrindavan, every day is a celebration. Every small event associated with Krishna is a celebration. Krishna face seeing festival. Krishna's, one aspect of Krishna is described and celebrated as a festival. Krishna's flute is described. Krishna's ankle bells are described. Krishna's dressing sense is described. Krishna's notorious activities are described. Everything is described not just as a passing by statement. They are described as a celebration. In fact, in Vrindavan, all the gopis, they developed love for Krishna only by hearing the description. Initially, these young girls, they had not seen Krishna. But before even seeing Krishna, they had developed love for Krishna. How? All of their brothers or father or anyone in the family, every day they will come home and share. Because these girls had their brothers who are friends with Krishna. So all of their friends, all of them used to come home in respective homes. They will share what was Krishna's dress, what did he bring for food, what game they played, how Krishna performed in the game. Every day, everybody share. And when all these girls come together to fetch water, when they gather near Yamuna, or when they go to some place to worship or play or whatever that is, all these girls, they exchange their notes. So in their own mind, they had built a very nice attachment for Krishna without even seeing in person Krishna. So the point is, Krishna is a person. And when Krishna is a person, he wished to reciprocate. He wished to be associated with. So when you do celebration, don't do celebration alone. Because nowadays, several devotees, we see them, they don't call anyone. They just have very limited Prabhu. We are 2-3 people only just. I don't want to make it as a big scene and stuff like that. You share the celebration of preaching, inviting, gathering people, feeding them nicely, make them comfortable. This is part of our tradition. When you feed them, Krishna is pleased. When Krishna is pleased, everybody is pleased. And naturally, they will develop love for Krishna and the process of Krishna consciousness. Especially those who are Brahmanas and civilized and cultured. They are not only supposed to be invited, they are supposed to be worshipped, looked after, because they are Krishna's representative. Brahmanosya mukamasit bahura janyakritaha. That's what Purusha Sukta says. Brahmanosya mukamasit. If Brahmanas are looked after, if Vaishnavas are looked after. That is why in the temple, when we celebrate festivals, senior Vaishnavas are given special seats, they are given garland, they are given, chandana, they are given various other things. Of course, in ISKCON tradition, we don't give betel leaves, but even till now, South Indian tradition, they have this culture of giving betel leaves and betel nuts. I'm not getting into the controversial subject there. It's correct or not correct, we not discuss. But what is described here is still, we see that happen in South Indian tradition. Both for the Lord, they offer betel leaves and nuts, and as a prasadam or as a remnants, they give it to the Brahmanas. In fact, after the feast, everybody is given betel leaves and nuts, and they were given other charity also. So the point is that the reflection is Krishna is a person. So Krishna likes people. Krishna wants us to bring all his children towards him. And Krishna sees many people are participating in the celebration. Krishna gets very happy. And as a part of our conducting festivities, we need to make sure that these festivals are done in a right mood, with the right conduct and consciousness, invoking auspiciousness, and making sure that all our invited guests are very nicely looked after. This Adivasa ceremony for Nimai Pandita and Lakshmi Priya happened in that manner, in a very wonderful way, that everybody came, whoever came for the festivities, they were very happy. This is part of the upachara. The Lord and the Lord's servant need to be served properly. Upachara is a very important, how do you serve, how do you conduct yourself. So every upachara today for us is only about the content. But in the Vedic tradition, it is about our, not only what you give, not only how you give, it is also about the consciousness, behind the action. So we have Krishna Janmashtami Utsav, as well as Radhashtami and other festivals are coming. And we have just heard about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Adivasa ceremony. And later we all will discuss about his wedding ceremony also. But we need to remember that every ceremony needs to have these components. So to summarize our discussion today, we said that every ceremony, every festival, every event towards Krishna consciousness, we need to invoke auspiciousness. This is to purify our consciousness, this is to purify the surroundings, this is to prepare ourselves to get into the groove. And invoking auspiciousness include chanting Vedic mantras, singing songs, and expressing our pleasure by dancing together and celebrating. Second, we discussed about how are we supposed to conduct ourselves. We are supposed to be clean and presentably dressed. Opulently also we can dress. And also we need to be always having this joyous spirit. We are not supposed to be in a rotlu or a crying baby in a manner that we, of course we can register our sorrowness, but let us celebrate Krishna's appearance. When Krishna is appearing, when Balram is appearing, when there is a festival happening, we should be so happy that, all auspiciousness are going to come through that. The third aspect of it is, we as a part of festivals, we need to make sure that we gather as many people as we can, look after them, serve them, so that Krishna is happy, because Krishna is a person. Krishna wants everything personal touch. Not just, Krishna is not interested in your procedure. Krishna is not interested in certain external things. Krishna wants love, emotions. When he sees all his children, some of them, liking him, some of them forgotten him, and all of them, when they are brought towards Krishna, he is very pleased. That is why some of these festival days, the Lord chooses to wake up too long a time. He breaks his regular routine, gives his darshan, and is available for all of us. So please celebrate your festivals with all awareness, and also with utmost love and not just as a formality. Srila Prabhupada never wanted to do Krishna consciousness as a formality. This is a science. So I would stop here and take up if there are any questions or comments or reflections. I'll be happy to respond. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, so grateful to you. Such wonderful topic, and just right on time before Janmashtami. Thank you so much, Prabhu. I had questions, but maybe I'll go later, and we will see if anybody else has any questions. So, dear devotees, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask any question, comment, or any realization. Any realization or anything you would like to add on.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. Such a beautiful class before Janmashtami. I'm so glad I could listen to this class. Thank you so much. One thing I really loved is what you said. Happiness is the symptom of a person who surrendered. That was so beautifully told, Prabhu. Very, very nice. Thank you so much. Very meditative class as always. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your association.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Preeti Viladhani Mataji says it's an assurance to say that, okay, I didn't do any nonsense. Thank you.
So, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Anybody
Prabhu.
else? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Very, very wonderful class. I just have one small question. What are the fruits? What kind of fruit it is that Vallabhacharya said that I'll give it as a dowry?
Yeah, so it is written. I also doesn't know what is this Haritaki. It's not Myro Balan. I do not know what it is. Maybe some Bengalis might know this is something.
Oh, it's like a betel nut. It's called hartaki in Bengali. It's a betel nut. I don't think we are allowed to have it. Somewhere, I don't remember the reference. I've read it that we are not. But in our childhood, we did consume it. It's very hard. You have a particular kind of a nut cracker, kind of a knife. You get it to cut it. It's very hard. And if you keep chewing it, it keep giving you the rasa. So it's haritaki or hartaki.
Thank you.
But there are different Haritakis, I think. It's not only the betel nut. There are other Haritakis.
It is not betel nut, Prabhu. It is not betel nut. It is like betel nut.
Is it the same one where Nityananda Prabhu was like one time, he gets angry if I forgot the devotee name. He cooks for Nityananda Mahaprabhu and then he saved it because Nityananda Mahaprabhu likes this.
Yes, Surinda's mother, yes.
So I'm sorry, Krishna Srimati, I'm not so conversant with that fruit. But
No
that's
worries.
all.
Thank you, Prabhu, and thank you everyone for your input. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
There's a question in the chat, Prabhu. You want to read or you want?
Yes, I'll see. How can we transform ourselves from road flu to happy flu? Oh boy. My experiences, personal experiences, that is actually, it is impossible for you to be a road flu when you are with happy devotees. Because, there are three ways I have experiences. One, in the kirtan, if you dance, you cannot dance in the kirtan when you are, quote unquote, a crying baby. Once the moment you start jumping and dancing in the kirtan for the, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then you don't know which world you will be transported to. You will be completely, off this material paradigm. So, when all this Sri Vaishnava pujaris and they danced, or when Jier or when all the Sri Rangam devotees they danced, it was not a artificial pre-prepared statements that they made to give some sort of a acknowledgement for the Sankirtan mission. It was a very natural response. Anyone who dances in the kirtan, so they cannot be sad. Number two, anyone who are with devotees, happy devotees. And when I say happy devotees, those who are in the right consciousness, if you are with them, they will make you smiling. And the third aspect, which generally, makes us very happy, is actually when we take darshan of the Lord, a beautiful darshan of the Lord with the right understanding. That darshan, the moment darshan of the Lord, actually, that Mama Mana Mandire Rahanichi Nina. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is singing that, I want to install you in my heart and worship you. So please come and reside in my heart. And the way to invite the Lord in my heart is when you see the Lord, take his darshan and sing his glories and invite him in your heart and let him be there. The way let him be there means is that don't overrule his ruling. It's very subtle. If you very subtly analyze, many a times we try to take decisions based on our mental and sensual urges. But if you don't take decision based on mental and sensual urges, if you take decision based on intelligence illuminated with knowledge coming from a bona fide source, then with that we can experience the happiness. At least we will be able to get to see the result of Krishna consciousness manifesting into us. So if you don't understand the third one, at least first and second are easy to do. Third one will naturally follow. But the third one is actually a little technical. The moment you understand and the moment you make yourself stand in front of the Lord, invite the Lord to come and reside in your heart. The Lord will definitely let the Lord take over you rather than you taking over. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Very beautiful class. As everybody is saying, festival is coming soon, and the mood we are setting up how we should be there. I really like the point that you are telling about, like how we should invoke the auspiciousness by chanting the mantras. Yesterday, I was listening to Guru Maharaj lecture, and he was saying that the same thing. Always the Maya is there with us to stop the other desires than conscious desire. We keep reciting these mantras, Gayatri mantras, and all other mantras that we have, so that we don't get the other bad desires, and which is not Krishna consciousness. We only get the Krishna conscious desires. Thank you, Prabhu, that point. And also how we should dress up when the festival or anywhere we should be presentable, not like for our pleasure or to show off. That is also very, very nice point, Prabhu. And thank you so much for such a beautiful class. Very great.
Yesterday I was giving a lecture in a congregation program. So we were discussing this. We were discussing Putana's pastime, but before that I was giving the background. So after the program, two Matajis came and said that we liked your lecture very much, Prabhu. You made our day by allowing us to dress up nicely. So now we have a reason why to dress up. I mean, sometimes it might sound very funny, but if you very deeply analyze, and if at all you could, some of you had got, must have got the fortune of seeing your own grandparents and how they used to, function. I had that good fortune. Every time festivity means it's a completely different mahul at home, different environment at home. Unfortunately, we don't get to see them in current generation. In our house, all 365 days, there are at least every month, there are some festivals. And festival means everybody is engaged. Children, old people, young people, everybody is engaged in some capacity. There's a preparation 2 days before, there is a celebration after. Definitely some snacks are made, dresses are given, happy moments are there. How much our poor people are there? They will spend a very happy moment then during amongst themselves. And this dressing is part of the Vaishnava tradition, is part of the culture. Unfortunately, we have moved from the purpose and simply started doing the act for the sake of it without realizing them. That's why I said that it's a very subtle point. We need to make sure that we don't, actually technically we dress for our master. Hanuman and Lakshmana, they were speaking to each other. So Hanuman is saying, please describe how Mother Sita looks like so that we will go and search for her. Lakshmana is saying, I don't know. I have not seen her. I have only seen her lotus feet. Because the culture is Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj was telling in one of the class, yes, the culture is that the women used to dress up so nicely, so beautifully for their husbands, and whenever they are going for festivals to worship the Lord. So the idea is that it's part of our tradition and it's part of invoking auspiciousness. You cannot be in celebration mode in torn cloths. Unfortunately, our current generation don't believe that, because for them the dressing is torn clothes. It's something really uncomprehendable. Anyway, any other questions?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for adding that. And also, Utsava means not for just sense gratification, it's to uplift us towards Krishna consciousness. That point also yesterday I was hearing from Guru Maharaj. I just want to add. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for a beautiful class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a question. Can we go?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, my questions are always practical problems, Prabhu. As one of the thing that you said, that we have become so impersonal. That is my experience too. And I try not to do it, and give all my heart and soul to the devotees when they are saying something, even if it is taking off my time. We all are limited on time. So when doing so, when we were not with so many devotees, it was easier to have a discipline, structured day, structured life, sleep at this particular time, wake up at this particular time, and the sadhana was way better. Now that the service increased and the number of devotees are there, when they find somebody who gives them time, they feel like talking more and more, and they really appreciate it. But in a way, somewhere I feel my sadhana get, the amount of book I would have liked, and the number of hours or minutes I would have liked to read my book, that doesn't happen. Because yet, being a Mataji, I have my other services for the house to do. I cannot say, okay, I'm not cooking because I was giving time to this devotee. So how do we strike this balance where we do not remain impersonal, and yet our sadhana does not get sacrificed?
My understanding I will share. Probably there are other experienced people they can share theirs. For us to be personal, more than the amount of time, the quality of time is enough. Many times, we have heard this from Prabhupada's disciples, that they would have spent very, very limited amount of time with Srila Prabhupada, but the personal touch of Srila Prabhupada towards them makes them still serve him and work for him and be surrendered to him. So there is an art of giving ourselves. Gopal Krishna Maharaj, I have seen this in him. Somebody said this, Maharaj, when he has to speak and present a content, he will present how much ever time you give. If you give him 3 minutes, 3 seconds, 30 minutes, he know how to present them so concisely, so eloquently. He used to, do that. That is why one of the 26 qualities of Vaishnava is also of how he is an expert in, one of the qualities is an expert. So my understanding is that being impersonal vis-a-vis personal is not about, generally, not about the amount of time. It is about the quality of time, which means it starts from within. If I am from within personal as a personality, if I am not trying to be personal, if I am already thinking, caring, naturally, you will say, hey, you know what? I went to Vrindavan, I remembered you. That statement, I went to, some place, I prayed for you. Oh, I was, cooking something, I remembered you. Even some statements towards some people. Such communications actually establishes our connection with them, and our personal association, our personal touch is installed or registered. Unfortunately, those who are only doing lip service, does not really mean it. How much ever they externally speak, they will never be able to touch your heart. The pastimes, there are several pastimes from Srila Prabhupada that I could remember. One of them that I have several times shared is about Srila Prabhupada's meeting strangers. In few times, I was telling about the Durban episode, just by a small gesture of interaction, Srila Prabhupada registered his personal touch. So whenever we are interacting with someone, what do we look in him, in her? What do we look up to them? The moment we think that we are offering something, it is I am going to give something, it is that I am supposed to be doing, we will always remain impersonal because we will be centered around them. The moment we think that we are servants to them, even if we have to excuse ourselves, we will excuse ourselves in a very personal manner. Mataji, Prabhuji. So we will excuse ourselves in a very personal manner so the other person won't get hurt. Otherwise, I used to always say this to my managers in the office. A person expressing his emotions and what the other person perceive you of. Like for example, Lord Ramachandra expressed his anger towards Samudra Raja. The Samudra Raja came out and offered forgiveness, asked for forgiveness. It's called angry Rama. The person is Rama by his character, his anger is validated, and the other person thinks that this person's anger is justified. So sometimes our conduct, our personality should be done in such a manner that even if we have to excuse ourselves, even if we have to say sorry, even if we have to not able to give a quality time, the other person will not feel offended, will not feel that this guy is rude, is adamant, arrogant. He will not feel that. That comes from within. So it's a very subtle point. It's a very practical thing which you can actually practically experience. The second possible, suggestion generally for being very personal is that if we publish or if we are consistent in our behavior, because many a times we are not consistent in our behavior or schedule or routine or in our thought process, that consistency will also make the other person believe that he is not cooking up or trying to, show off. Consistently, he is doing this service. Consistently, he is, like for example, we never get upset when our Guru Maharajas are not able to give us time. Then we are asking questions and we have to wait in the queue. So many people are waiting for, months and years together to get their audience. The reason is they know they are not avoiding you. They know that they are still liking you, loving you, working, praying for you. And whenever they give some time to you, that's enough. So that is because they are consistent in their conduct and activities, which is visible, which makes you feel comfortable that you are definitely in the right Sangha. So amongst friends also, this is doable when the other person knows. Initially, they may doubt you. Initially, they may be upset. But if you in your heart of heart, if you are very personal, then it is impossible for impersonalism to come out. Even the other person may misunderstand. They may come around and say that, no, I was wrong. Am I making some sense here?
Always, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you. That really helps, Prabhu. Thank you. So we'll see if there are any other realization or questions. Otherwise,
Ramgiridhari Prabhu ko Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Sri Radha Gopinath ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for your association and blessing. Prabhuji, can you please sing whatever you want to sing for Sri Janmashtami? And especially, Prabhuji, it's touched to heart that we have to see our fault instead of other, whether it's material person or Vaishnava, we have to see there is a Kam, Krodh, Loh, Moh, Matsa, four finger is our side. So we have to see our heart anartha instead of other Vaishnava, that day only Janmashtami, real Janmashtami will वो भगवान हमारे हृदय में आके बैठेंगे. But I have seen that we just point out the other Vaishnavas mistake, but instead of that, when we realize our own mistake, when we feel that no, we are wrong, then वो श्रीमती all that काम क्रोध लोभ मोह मत से निकल के श्रीमती श्री राधा रानी and Lord Krishna, Sri Nityananda and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sit in our heart, and whatever seva, whether it's preparing khichdi prasadam, or whether it's preparing cake, or whether it's preparing, sometimes not able to prepare prasad, we bring fruits, but it should be from bottom of the heart, and our kids will follow whatever seva we are doing. We are the example for our kids and our husband. So sometimes we become little bit tired from the office job work, or so many sevas work, our voice is little up, then suddenly we have to hear, oh, you learn this thing from the temple, so that we have to become a 50, बोलते हैं ये गुजराती में कि सिर पे 50 बर्फ रख के we have to deal when some days are hard, that time we have to deal with our family, not to angry with them. Then only day by day by Krishna's mercy, they also become more sincere, sitting in our shoulder, and we learn lesson from our kids, we learn a lesson from our husband. For that we need lots of patience. That what I learn, Prabhuji. कोटि कोटि धन्यवाद प्रणाम श्रील प्रभुपाद श्रील गुरुदेव की जय. कुछ ज्यादा बोला है तो माफ करना.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I think Prabhuji got dropped off.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Do we close or what do we do, Mataji?
Maybe he will join again.
We can wait for Prabhuji came.
Hi, Krishna.
Sorry, there was a disconnect there. I hope I heard Vrinda Gopika Mataji fully. If I'm not, sorry. What I was trying to say was, I was saying something that many times people think that they are being tired, poor, having challenges, or the reason for them to be sorrow. Being happy has nothing to do with any of them. For us to be happy, we have to have the right understanding. And in every situation we can be happy. The understanding is, we have Gurudev, we have Nama, we have Krishna. So we need not be sorrow on any situations. The only moment we can have an apparent sorrow is when we are bereft of such things. If I am going to miss an association of a spiritual master or a Vaishnava, if I am going to go away from the Sangha, that's when we have to have a real sorrow. That sorrowness is allowed. Otherwise, we are not supposed to be. We need not be. Not supposed is different. We need not be, unhappy. So the maturity, as I said, the point about happiness is a direct portion of our surrender. How much ever we are surrendered to Krishna, that much ever we will be happy. So I will, unless there are no other questions.
Prabhuji, I just explained, please forgive me, that whatever I learned from your realization, that there is a mistake, kam, krodh, lo, moh, motsa, everything is in our heart. We cannot see the mistake from material person or from Vaishnava. So that all anartha, जिस दिन निकलेंगे, that दिन Srimati Sri Radha Rani and Lord Krishna will sitting in our heart. And we are the example for our family, our kids, our husband, that some days are challenging days. That day we have to become so much patience. If our voice is little increased, then suddenly we have to hear, oh, you learn this thing from the temple. So we have to become very conscious when we are serving, making bhoga or preparing food for our Sisi Jagannath, Balram, Subhadra, because all the anger is came in that food, and those who are eating that prasadam, they also become not feel well. So my point is, we have to become so sincere. This every day is Janmashtami, and I try my best that I will not do any aparad for Vaishnava or non-Vaishnava. I just try to serve them das dasanu das bhav. And if I am not able to make a prasadam for homeless kids, homeless Vaishnava, at that time I try to share them fruits. But I will continue Srila Prabhupada Seva, whatever Srimati Sisi Radharani is given a little seva to me, I have to continue that seva. That much lesson I learned from you. All realization is touched to heart, Prabhuji. If it is possible, can you please sing a 2-minute song? And if कुछ ज़्यादा बोला है तो माफ करना.
Hare Krishna. I will pray for you, and you're always enthusiastic, and may your enthusiasm spread like a forest fire, and then more and more souls will lotus feet of Krishna. I'll sing this song composed by Rupa Goswami. Very interesting song called Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Mana Manasa Madhukaram Arpaya Nijapada Pankaja Makarande. Mana Manasa Madhukaram Arpaya Nijapada Pankaja Makarande. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Yadyapi samadhishu vidirapi pashyati natavana kagramarijam. Yadyapi samadhishu vidirapi pashyati natavana kagramarijam. Idamichami nishamyata vachuta tadapi kripabhuta vichim. Idamichami nishamyata vachuta tadapi kripabhuta vichim. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Bhakti Rudhanchati Yadyapi Madhava Natvai Mamatila Matri. Bhakti Rudhanchati Yadyapi Madhava Natvai Mamatila Matri. Parameshwarata Tadapita Vadika Durgata Gatana Vidhatri. Parameshwarata Tadapita Vadika Durgata Gatana Vidhatri. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Ayamavilolata Yadya Sanatana Kalitadbhutarasavaram. Ayamavilolata Yadya Sanatana Kalitadbhutarasavaram. Nivasatu nityam ihamritanindini vindan madhurimasaram. Nivasatu nityam ihamritanindini vindan madhurimasaram. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Mana Manasa Madhukaram Arpaya Nijapada Pankaja Makarande. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Jaya Radha Shyam Sundara Radha Shyam Sundara Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. O Lord Krishna, I am offering a prayer unto you. Please let the bee of my mind be offered the nectarian honey of your lotus feet. Although Brahma in full samadhi cannot catch a glimpse of even a ray of the effulgence from the tips of your toe nails, still, O Achyuta, having heard of the waves of your astonishing mercy, I long to receive your grace. O Madhava, although I don't possess even a sesame seed of bhakti for you, still by your inconceivable power, which makes the impossible possible, please fulfill the desires of my heart. Hey Sanatana, because your lotus feet are filled with such wonderful rasa, let the bee of my mind always reside unwaveringly in that nectar which puts everything else to shame, for they are the essence of all sweetness. This is my only prayer. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, koti koti dandavat pranam. Thank you very much. Play for all Bhakti Sangha Mataji's. This Kartik month, we qualified to enter in Siddha Mudan Dham by the mercy of Bhakti Devi, Srimati Sisitu Simarani, our Acharya Gan, Six Kausami, and Srila Prabhupada mercy.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for that beautiful singing and reading out the meaning. Without the understanding the meaning, we can't go into the deep of that bhav when you're singing the song. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. If there are no more questions, we can end the call here. I would like to offer my obeisances to Prabhuji and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call. Vancha kalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah ananta koti Vaishnav vridhi ki jai Srila Prabhupada. Ramgiridhari Prabhuji ki jai. Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining today's class. We'll meet tomorrow again.